Welcome to our lecture on persuasion. There's a pretty good chance that if you knew nothing about what a public speaking course involves, you still had an inkling that this course would involve persuasion. Why? Because it's a foundational element to the discipline, to rhetoric, and to the overall practice of public speaking. So, what is persuasion? Persuasion is the process of influencing people's attitudes, beliefs, values, or behaviors. So persuasive speaking, then, is the process of doing so in a public speech. But really, it's the success of that persuasion that matters. That's why we have to think about specific strategies for persuasive speaking. One key piece of information that many students don't realize is that good persuasive speaking first builds upon controversy. In general, the world is a toxic enough place, and personally, I believe that trying to put good out into the world is the best practice that we can engage in. But there are some spaces and contexts where we need to do something different, where we need to brush elbows with controversy, with dissent, with conflict. Persuasive speaking is one of those places or spaces. For your persuasive speech, you should pick a topic that is controversial. Why? Well, remember that the goal of persuasive speaking is to have an outcome. You want your audience to do something, and really they can't do that effectively if you present an idea that is an easy win. I mean, a persuasive speech on why you should brush your teeth isn't really a persuasive speech. It's sort of a commentary on a commonly accepted practice. A good persuasive speech builds on controversy. But remember, as speakers, everything we do is about balance. We have great responsibility as speakers as we have the attention of folks who might not normally give their ears to what we have to say. As such, we have a responsibility to sculpt messages that demonstrate care and concern for the audience. This is what we call deliberating in good faith. We recognize that though we can stimulate conversation around controversial topics, we do so to only push society forward, to push our audience forward. Thus, any topic we select should be carefully evaluated and presented in a way that reflects an audience-first commitment. When it comes to deliberating in good faith, we have a responsibility to, number one, be honest, of course. 2, back up our opinions with facts, and this is key. That means we have to insert research. And 3, remain open to changing our minds. And this is about debating and discussing controversial issues in a spirit of mutual respect, a practice that seems quite lost in our current political and social landscape. So really, persuasive speaking is about presenting a proposition. And a proposition is a declarative sentence that clearly indicates which side of any given position we're on. There are several different types of propositions. A proposition of fact is a statement designed to convince our audience that something did or did not exist or occur, is or is not true, or will not occur. They can concern past, present, or future facts. A proposition of value, number 2, is a statement designed to convince the audience that something is good, bad, desirable, undesirable, fair, unfair, moral or immoral, sound or unsound, beneficial, harmful, important or unimportant. And then third, a proposition of policy is a statement designed to convince your audience that they should take a specific course of action. Remember that the goal of persuasion is effectiveness, though. Sculpting a good or rhetorically sound argument alone is insufficient. We've got to do more. Again, this is about strategies. And one of the key hallmarks upon which persuasive success rests is us, the speaker. Perceptions of the speaker play a pivotal role in persuasion success. Thus, there are several things that we want to actively convey to the audience. First is trustworthiness. Remember how we've talked about ethos or credibility? In each speech, we want to provide a credibility statement that shows our audience we are qualified to be giving them this information or to be suggesting this as a viable path forward. Credibility is intricately related to persuasion. That's the whole principle of our democracy, right? We put who we perceive to be the most credible people into political office, and then those people ultimately shape and guide the nation through their persuasive appeals. Next is competence. Now, it should come as no surprise that people don't often buy into messages from those people that they think are just blowing smoke. We've got to come across as qualified and competent to be relaying information. This happens when we speak from personal experience or when we very clearly show the audience that we've done our research. Remember, public speaking is just as much about research as it is oral delivery. Third, we've got to show that we're open-minded. This may sound strange. After all, isn't the whole goal of persuasion to motivate our audience to buy into a controversial idea? After all, we have to take a side, and we have to present that side. So why would we want to be perceived as weak or flexible on where we stand? Well, remember, like many other things in life, public speaking is about balance. We want to convey that we've thought through the issue critically and have a clear, well-researched perspective. But we must also legitimize the other side. All controversial issues have sides, and aside from extremes like racism or other topics of hatred, which there is no legitimate other side to those, most arguments do have two legitimate sides. Let's take a simple example, dogs are better than cats argument, if you will. Now, of course, this is too inconsequential to be a good speech topic for this course, but as an issue, it's subject to multiple perspectives, all of which are legitimate. The same applies for not-so-frivolous topics, such as why universal healthcare is the best platform, or why college should be free. Those topics have multiple legitimate perspectives. Good speakers show balance and open-mindedness by recognizing the benefits of the other side, but then showing why their argument is still the best and most viable option. Finally, dynamism. Dynamism refers to the way a speaker delivers an argument. Put simply, folks are more likely to buy into an argument if you, the speaker, buy into it and present it effectively. Let's assume you were buying a new car. Would you want to buy it from the guy who seems like he'd rather be at home watching TV, or from the guy who just can't contain his excitement for you and the great decision you're making? You don't want to come across like a circus act, of course, but you want to appear dynamic, professional, passionate, and personally interested and invested in this topic and your argument. There are also several tactics you can use to really show your audience that you put them at the forefront of this entire process, such as showing them that you share their experiences and concerns, that you're one of them, so to speak. You show them that you know what the experts say, so your position isn't an outlier, but fits within current best practices. Show that you have personal experience with the topic, and here's a hint. If the topic doesn't personally apply to you, don't speak on it. Show the audience that you're passionate about this topic, and again, if you aren't, pick a different topic. Show them that you can see the other side, and recognize that parts of the other side's argument are indeed legitimate. And ultimately, show the audience that you're on their side. You're fighting for them, and your perspective gives them something of value. You want to motivate them to adopt that perspective, so the more you can show how it will help them or make their lives better by doing so, the more success you're likely to have. Now, as you'll read, persuasion goes beyond this, and there are a variety of persuasion models, tactics, and strategies. Be sure to implement those in your persuasive speech. But in addition to the content you're reading, don't forget to put these principles of effective and engaging delivery into action. A good speech will do both. It will put into practice all of the sound rhetorical principles of persuasion, and it will also do so in a way that reflects an oral delivery style that is sculpted to the persuasive rhetorical situation.